Hidden among silent hills and ancient olive groves, the Bellini family mansion stood with an imposing presence that no longer impressed. The light stones of its facade seemed faded by time, and the gardens, still organized, carried a subtle air of abandonment, as if life there had come to a halt. Lorenzo Bellini, at 35 years old, walked through the vast corridors with the same lightness of someone carrying an invisible burden. He was once a man desired for his striking beauty and magnetic presence, deep hazel eyes, dark wavy hair, firm features that drew attention wherever he went. Women vied for his attention, and his fame as a pianist only heightened the fascination around him. But that charm had dissipated. Now, Lorenzo rejected any approach, especially from women. He avoided gazes, conversations, any contact that might break the isolation he had imposed on himself. The music that once defined him had gone silent, and the echo of his notes seemed lost among the cold walls of that house. 2 years ago, at the height of his career, he was in a car accident that compromised part of the movements of his right hand. What should have been just a routine trip to the airport for another international tour turned into the moment that divided his life into before and after. The car skidded on a sharp curve, rolling over several times. Lorenzo survived, but the tendons and nerves in his right hand were severely damaged. Since then, frustration and bitterness have become his constant companions. The black grand piano in the music room remained covered. Lorenzo avoided even looking at the instrument that was once his greatest passion. In the heart of this house, however, there was a beacon of light and warmth: Antonella, Lorenzo's grandmother. At 80 years old, she was a lovely figure, with her silver hair always arranged in an elegant bun and a warm smile that contrasted with her grandson's stern expression. This lady had raised the young man since he was 12, when he lost his parents in a tragic plane accident. She was the one who first noticed her grandson's musical talent, encouraging him to explore the piano that had belonged to generations of the Bellini family. With patience and love, she nurtured not only his musical gift, but also shaped his character, teaching him about perseverance, compassion, and the importance of following his dreams. Now, however, the roles had reversed. The elderly woman's health began to falter, and Lorenzo dedicated himself fully to her care. It was his way of repaying all the love and dedication he had received over the years. Even so, the frustration with his own condition often made him distant and irritable. It was in this setting that Elisa Moretti came into their lives. A newly graduated nurse, the young woman was hired to assist in Antonella's care. At 27, she was the opposite of the heavy atmosphere that dominated the mansion. Her eyes shone with genuine joy. The new job and the start of her career excited her, and her easy smile seemed to light up the rooms through which she passed. Elisa had a gentle, almost ethereal presence. Her light brown hair, usually tied in a loose braid, framed a delicate face. Her voice and caring manner soon won over Antonella, who saw her as a breath of fresh air in the house. Lorenzo, on the other hand, remained distant. He watched from afar as the new nurse cared for his grandmother but avoided any interaction beyond what was strictly necessary. To him, she was just another reminder of the outside world from which he had isolated himself. The days at the Bellini mansion followed a routine. In the morning, the man would wake up early and have breakfast on the veranda, watching the sunrise over the hills. Then, he spent hours in the library, immersed in books about the history of music and biographies of composers, a way to stay in touch with the world he had left behind. Elisa arrived promptly at 8 a.m., bringing with her a refreshing energy. She cared for the elderly woman with a mix of professionalism and affection that Lorenzo couldn't help but admire, even if reluctantly. The mornings were filled with the necessary medical care, always interspersed with lively conversations and laughter that echoed through the halls. In the afternoon, when Antonella rested, Elisa devoted herself to organizing the medications and updating the medical records. It was during one of these quiet moments that something unexpected happened. One afternoon, as Lorenzo was walking down the hall leading to the music room, he heard a sound that made him stop abruptly. Soft and hesitant notes were coming from the piano that had long been silent. Intrigued and a bit disturbed, he quietly approached the ajar door. There, seated at the piano, was Elisa. Her fingers delicately glided over the keys, producing a simple yet touching melody. Lorenzo was paralyzed, a mix of conflicting emotions overtaking him. Part of him wanted to burst into the room and demand that she stop playing his sacred instrument. Another part, however, was mesmerized by the scene. The nurse was not a pianist, that was clear. But there was something in the simple and sincere way she played that reached Lorenzo in an unexpected way. She didn't worry about hitting every note. She let the music flow, light and natural. Without making a sound, Lorenzo stepped back, allowing Elisa to continue. In the following days, he found himself eagerly awaiting those moments when she sat at the piano. Hidden, he watched her every gesture, seeing how, little by little, she gained confidence. She dared to try new melodies and even ventured into the unfinished scores he had left there, forgotten. On a calm afternoon, Lorenzo found Antonella alone in the living room, with a mysterious smile on her lips. "You heard her play, didn't you?" she asked, her eyes shining with ancient wisdom. Lorenzo hesitated, but nodded slightly. "She doesn't know how to play properly," he murmured, more to himself than to his grandmother. Antonella gave a gentle smile. "But she feels the music, and that is already a lot." His grandmother's words kept echoing in Lorenzo's mind. That night, after so long, he sat at the piano. He lifted the lid slowly, as if the instrument might break. His fingers trembled when they touched the keys. The first note sounded weak. Then came another, and yet another. Everything seemed strange, awkward. Frustration began to grow, but he remembered Elisa. She played without fear of making mistakes. Lorenzo took a deep breath and continued, letting the music come out as it would. Imperfect, but his own. In the following days, the house seemed different. Lorenzo still spoke little, but Elisa noticed that he would sometimes watch her from afar. The melodies she played on the piano began to come to life, as if they were having a conversation with him. On a clear morning, Elisa was helping Antonella in the garden when she heard it. The sound of the piano filled the air. Hesitant notes, but soon gaining strength. Elisa stopped, surprised. "Is it him, isn't it?" she asked softly. Antonella smiled, her eyes moist. "Yes, my Lorenzo is coming back." From that day on, a silent dance began between Lorenzo and Elisa. She continued to explore the piano during her breaks, leaving unfinished melodies in the air. At night, Lorenzo picked them up and developed them, adapting them to his new limitations. It was an unintentional collaboration, a musical dialogue that slowly filled the empty spaces of the mansion. As winter gave way to spring, the gardens of the Bellini mansion exploded in colours. Antonella's roses, carefully cultivated by Elisa, perfumed the air. And inside the house, an equally beautiful transformation was occurring. Lorenzo started spending more time outside his room. Sometimes he would sit quietly in the living room while Elisa read to her grandmother. Other times he would help her prepare afternoon tea, his fingers still nimble despite the limitations. It was during one of these quiet moments that Lorenzo found himself watching Elisa as she arranged the cups on the table. She didn't notice his attention, but he felt something new emerging within him, as if her presence had the power to fill the voids in his heart. She turned around and, upon finding him standing in the kitchen doorway, smiled, that gentle smile that always touched his heart in unexpected ways. "What's wrong, Lorenzo? You're very quiet today." Lorenzo hesitated, his eyes fixed on her for a moment. "I'm just appreciating the moment," he replied, with a sincerity he had never expressed before. Elisa, a bit surprised by the response, took a step forward. "You've never been one to talk much, but it's good to see you more present. Even without saying anything, you make a difference." Lorenzo smiled slightly, feeling the weight of the words dissipate, replaced by something more tangible, something he couldn't quite explain. Maybe it was the way Elisa made him feel, as if he was more than just the man who had lost so much, more than someone trapped in his own silence. That night, after a simple and cozy dinner, Elisa suggested they play together once more. This time she didn't wait for Lorenzo to start. She sat at the piano first, her gentle hands on the keys, creating a melody that flowed naturally. Lorenzo approached without hesitation, as if he already knew what to do, as if music were the only medium through which they truly understood each other. The melody that emerged between them was different, more mature, fuller of meaning. The notes flowed with the same lightness and harmony, but now there was a new depth, a sense that each sound was a reflection of the feelings forming between the two, feelings that perhaps had never been expressed in words. "Have you ever noticed," said Elisa as the notes filled the space between them, "how the music becomes more beautiful when we are together? As if it were ours, just ours." Lorenzo looked at her, his heart tight, yet also light, as if her presence was the key to unlocking doors he had kept closed for so long. "I notice," he murmured, his voice low and laden with an emotion he couldn't hide. "And I don't want this to end." Elisa smiled again, a smile full of understanding. She didn't need more words to know what he meant. Both were there, amidst the music that now united them, creating a bond that only grew with time. And so, to the sound of the piano keys, Lorenzo and Elisa began to discover, in silence and melody, something that words couldn't express. Something that was already there, in every chord, in every look, in every small but deeply meaningful gesture. From the door, Antonella observed the scene with a satisfied smile. She had always known that music had the power to heal, to unite souls. And now, seeing her beloved grandson not only rediscover his passion for music, but also find a new love, she felt her mission was complete. The Bellini mansion, once a place of isolation and sadness, now vibrated with life and music. Lorenzo and Elisa, now together, were on a journey of healing and mutual discovery. And although challenges still existed, Lorenzo's condition, Elisa's burgeoning career as a nurse, they faced everything together, with music as their shared language of love and understanding. By the end of that summer, Lorenzo gave his first public concert since the accident. It wasn't in the grand concert halls he used to dominate, but in the mansion's garden, with Elisa by his side at the piano. The audience was small, just Antonella and a few close friends, but the moment was magical. As the notes flowed, mingling with the scent of roses and the golden light of the sunset, Lorenzo looked at Elisa and smiled. He had learned that true love, like the most beautiful music, is born from the courage to be vulnerable and the appreciation of the beauty found in the imperfections of everyday life. And so, in the small town of Bella Vista, among centuries-old olive groves and lush green hills, a new story of love and music continued to be written, a perfect duet in its imperfection. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.